star, you fade away. Afraid I'll end inside of sight when I see you alive. Where are you now? Where are you now? Where are you now? Was it all in a fantasy? Where are you now?
So we'll split you guys into two groups, and we're going to go around for about 5 hours.
5 hours?
Well,
Is it come with dinner?
Yeah, but if you have pets, water if you need, and juice is good. Slipper is also okay. We'll go off now. Okay. Now? Okay.
Queensland, and they originally did this research for Zika, back when Zika was a big thing. But you can put together a lab in a backpack as a way to run antigen tests in places that don't have access to a lab. And it uses a different process than
it's something like it's a replacement for PCR testing. It's in lab, so you don't need a turbocycler. You just need a stable temperature.
Designed to run all the time, because if your selfies don't work and if you don't see anything on your feed, people get very angry. So they're engineered to be high performance, and that's perfect if you want to do a centrifuge because they need to spin really, really quickly. So there is an open source project that takes discarded drives to get rid of all the insides. And then where the spinny thing and the data is normally stored, you put a 3D printer. Anybody familiar or anybody not familiar with Star Wars? Never seen Star Wars? But you know about it? You heard from other people? Okay, Baby Yoda, does that mean anything? Not yet? Okay. Okay, so... bit of a spoiler. I'm going to be talking about Star Wars. I'm going to reveal the character development arc. Much because we were looking for, I don't know, action and Jedis. But the guy is a Jedi, complete stranger, goes into a stranger's home, they're, giving them food and shelter from the storm. And what does he decide to do? He decides to poke him with a needle without his consent. And check his midichlorian count. This happened in the movie, and it's not like because it's not part of the story, so we don't really use it glossed over. Sounds a little bit like that, yes. But there's a very good reason for this. So the guy in the picture, the stranger, his name was Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon, yeah.
And he's the master to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And becomes angry and then dies.
And reborn.
$1 billion industry. You cannot mix the two. Alright, so now you know what
This person. That's a story.
9 movies, 1 slide.
You summarize the whole entire franchise.
Yes. How many movies is it? Different me's that look completely not like me. There will be all aliens. There will be 10 aliens for all just using the cells that are in my body. Which just completely blows my mind. I would remain intact. I wouldn't be taking my cells and transforming them. They're just 10 times more. Which it does not compute. I just don't know how, we can talk about things like Wi-Fi and cats, but this is a thing. It blew my mind. So that was the original ratio. That was 1977. Apparently it's been revised a little bit. So it's a ratio of 1 is to 1.3. That seems to be a more conservative estimate, but still we're outnumbered. As in the number of cells in my stomach itself, those are the ones that kind of we rely on a day-to-day basis for, living. But we take them completely for granted, just like IT engineers and Wi-Fi fixing. But they perform a vital role rather than some galaxy far, far away in this galaxy.
Red blood cells.
Anybody want to guess what that is?
Geobacter.
Close enough. I think that might be actually exactly right. It's just an electron microscope picture of bacteria. But yeah, I think you might be right. I think it is geobacter. We should hand out these little things. Hang on. With a reservoir, and in the middle, zooming in on a biofilm where there's a conductor. And you have these microbes that move toward the conductor and form a layer or a biofilm. Because they basically don't like oxygen. They're anaerobic, so they go away from the oxygen and they find a conductor. So all of these are like excess static electricity charge that they're getting rid of to the conductor. And the conductor in this case is like graphite, it's carbon. It's not metal, so it's not reactive. And you know, carbon and graphite, like charcoal, is quite neutral. So they gather in large quantities to form a biofilm and get rid of charge because that helps them eat more. It's a byproduct of their metabolism. So that's what effectively powers a microbial fuel cell, is all of the things connected to this.
Yeah, we play around with microbial fuel cells too.
Excellent. So that's what we're going to do. But the ones that we want to focus in on, because like you said, you know, these bacteria live everywhere and they're all different kinds. The ones on the skin are completely different from the ones on the inside. And they perform different functions. This one has these sort of long tendrils that come out of it. I think they're called pili or pili, micropili. I don't know what it's called. But these tendrils go out and seek out other bacteriums. And the reason they do that is because they are electrogenic. They become electronegatively charged. So kind of like how you would, if you wear socks in a cold country and rub your feet on a carpet and go touch somebody, you get a spark. You want to pass on that spark from one person to the next. So they want to get rid of their electronegative charge to the next person and the next person and the next person, or the next bacterium until they get rid of the charge. So apparently they become electrogenic because they get negatively charged. So I couldn't find because you're not just feeding yourself, you're also keeping your gut happy. So when you have probiotics and health foods and things like that, live an active healthy lifestyle, it's not just for yourself, but also the 10 others or 1.3 others that you're carrying around with you. So strongly recommend getting into fermentation and trying out fermented food. Okay, narrowing it down a little bit to, and this is actually the thing that we'll be playing with, but tilted on its side. This is another brilliant example of how you can make a microbial fuel cell where you need it, where you have two different environments, one anaerobic, which is without oxygen, and one which is like fresh water, where you have oxygen in the water. All you have to do is bury a terminal under the soil, and on top, you can leave it exposed to the water. So imagine at the bottom of a pond or a river, you can bury a terminal, a nice big long terminal for the microbes to nicely get rid of the electric charge. And on the other side, you can have that cathode floating in the water. And in the middle, you can have a sensor that is powered by the environment that it is sensing. So it's possible to have a self-sustaining device. And again, like I said, it is sewage water is being treated and made potable again. But yeah, the point of this is, in order for this electron thing to keep moving, you got to keep the microbes happy. And in order to keep the microbes happy, you got to get rid of the hydrogen that's produced. Luckily, we've got oxygen in the air. So oxygen plus hydrogen makes dihydrogen monoxide. Water. This is another example of how you can make a microbial fuel cell using salt water.
Copper.
Sometimes they use this in like island situations where you have access to a lot of salt water. it can be used like this. But again, all of these are examples that are, crudely illustrated because it turns out that no matter how many of these you grow and how much of this you do, it is still a very, 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 very small amount of power that comes out of it. So it's not it's not cost efficient to set this up because if you have something as small as this, this is a solar panel, and just by using the light that's in the room, it's already charging. And this is like 10 times more powerful than the thing that we're going to make. So you have to have 10 of these. So solar power is definitely a lot more capable, but the key difference is your microbial fuel cells are alive. So when your fuel cells have a thin film on top, that's like a semi-permeable material. So you can get that. But 3M makes a really nice one that doesn't break down. And on top, you'll have a capacitor and a hacker board. You can forget this for now. I'll tell you why in a second. But you've got one wire going in to the top of the jar and another wire going to the bottom of the jar. Okay, you can see that? So that's what we have here. It's the cathode and the anode. So you can sound sciencey, but that's one terminal, another terminal, two wires. Very simple. The one at the bottom is away from the air, so it's got an anaerobic environment. So that's where your microbes will grow. So they'll grow on top of the conductor at the bottom. And you have a wire that comes out that will conduct the electrons. And on top, you want to keep this thing partially open or make a hole so that it can breathe. And the thing on top will react with the oxygen, neutralize the hydrogen, and make water. So it'll be a watery environment inside, similar to a terrarium. So if you've ever made a terrarium before, you can make a microbial fuel cell. Does that make sense? Is anybody not following?
So the wire is the same on both sides, right? It's a copper wire to conduct.
Yeah, exactly. So that's an excellent question because I'm going to show you now why we can't really do that. So once you hook it all up, you connect it to a little multimeter. Does anybody use the multimeter before?
Millivolts. Yeah.
Some of you have. So please help the others who haven't. During this session, if nothing else, you'll learn how to use a multimeter, and it is going to be very useful for measuring like whether or not a normal battery is dead or not. So it's a very useful tool. Because the amount of power that each jar creates is very, very small, the amount of electricity needs to be measured by a multimeter. So this one is producing 187 millivolts. So it's like 0.2 volts. And it's very, very small. All of this will make sense in a bit. If we take what is left of the force that's hiding in the mud and connect it all up nicely, we can harness the power of it. They're not electrogenic, at least not the ones that I know of. The ones that live in the soil, that would be amazing, yeah. Do you think that's possible? We got geobacter and Salmonella.
Well, you'll have to find
After a few.
anything convention and do the CRISPR first.
Ah,
I mean, there's CRISPR, but you'll have to see if it matches or not.
Our tiny amounts, tiny little things, using nothing but the stuff that you find around you. And the way to do that is with this. So that's what we're going to do later. How are we doing time? Excellent. Toxic water supplies and transmit that information. So it has the ability to sense its environment, and the way it powers itself, the way it goes around these water supplies, is using microbial fuel cells and solar panels, much like the plants that are on it. So it's a nomadic plant that goes around and senses its own environment and collects water samples and transmits that data.
What is the purpose of having plants on that?
Well, I think our project, the intention was to have a nomadic plant. So there's more info about this on plantesnomadas.com. Gilberto Esparza. But I love this idea of having a self-sustaining robot. Again, it's got all the same kind of mechanism that we use, right? We feed ourselves from drawing nourishment from our environment, and so does the plant. And the plant now can move around in addition to doing what it normally does. And it's been designed to serve another purpose, which is to transmit data of toxic, for example. So it's also mud. You can go out and dig up some. The recommendation is you get mud that is already underwater, because then it is anaerobic. But any mud will do, even if it is dry, it's in somebody else's garden, or it's in a plant pot somewhere. It's fine, it'll work just fine. It'll just take some time for the microbes to gravitate together and form a biofilm. So if you can dig it up from underwater, it's better. But again, it's a complex ecosystem, so using all sorts of different orientations and shapes. I was trying to do one that was flat using an ice tray. So you get lots of different cells to try and get more voltage out of it. I used leftover containers from other things. Plastic drink bottles, that also kind of works. And you can power something that is like very low powered thing like an LCD screen. So try out different experiments, different terminals, different wire combos, mixed results. And it turned out the reason was because this wire is not just an ordinary wire. It's an expensive wire. It's made out of titanium. And the reason for that is because when you stick the wire inside, underneath, it is in contact with water, and then we reverse engineered it to figure out what goes inside the box. So it turns out that these two things are the most complicated part of this setup. Getting a jar, that's easy. Getting mud, also very easy. Wires, not a problem. But this terminal and this terminal, this thing on top and this thing at the bottom, they look quite specialized. And it turns out they're made out of charcoal and they're sponges. So what we can do is find other sources for charcoal. And activated charcoal is like 10 to 100 times better, more surface area. So you can find them from various sources.
What does activated charcoal mean?
So normal charcoal that you use for like barbecue and stuff has a porous nature. Activated makes those pores even more porous. So you have like an exponentially large amount of surface area inside. So activated charcoal absorbs more for less quantity. And yeah, so you can use the barbecue stuff, but using the powdered stuff or the stuff that you get at aquariums is the most affordable because they sell it to you in large quantities. This one's very expensive. Okay, so there's two terminals. One is black, which goes in the middle, and red, which goes to the V. And one more thing, and then we can get started, which is the... There's another one that looks like that. Can I get the blue guy from behind? Yeah, no, I got that one. Thank you. Alright, we've got a big fancy blue one. Doesn't need to be plugged in. Okay, so in your instructions, you can fill this up with all the necessary bits. This is the cheat sheet. You've got mud at the bottom, you've got charcoal, one layer, more mud, and then you've got more charcoal. Can you see that? This one, different countries have different rules.
Yes, I know.
It's like you've got a jar of mud with wires coming
It's a bomb.
Alright, any questions before we... So it says V for volts. It will allow you to measure volts. And there's two V's. There's one V with a line and one V with a squiggly. The squiggly one is used for AC, which is the stuff that you get in the house. And V with the single line is DC, which is what you get in batteries. So your phone runs on DC, your house lights run on AC. And AC/DC is a band. So to measure anything using a multimeter, all you need is to figure out which is plus and minus. Minus is black in this case. Colors really don't mean anything. You can interchange the wires, but it's easier to understand if you use red for plus and black for minus. And generally that's the convention. That's what we followed here as well. So you can put this together here and put this together here and look at the numbers on the screen. You've got like 60, sort of 60, yeah, 70, 72. So it's about 71 millivolts. And it's not much. So if you want to get enough voltage to power something like this that has a small little battery inside, you need to have 1.5 volts. So you need to have
2 of them or 3 of them?
7 of them.
Oh, 7.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Exactly. So this, depending on how you construct it and how much space and surface area there is, you might get more voltage out. The highest I've seen is about 200 to 300. These ones are too small. That's why we went and got bigger jars. Originally, we were planning to do the workshop with just these because it's easier to take home, but it turns out it's too small. So results may vary. So all you need to do is follow these instructions, fill up this jar, get the wires coming out, and then we'll test it again. So I'll do that now to get to this that we prepared earlier. Is that okay? All right. So this is activated charcoal. I got this from the aquarium shop.
So looks that.